Why all the hate on Harley Davidson? You're all a bunch of maggots. Let's get into this one. I've seen a couple of reaction videos recently about some YouTube channels. I'm not sure if they're talking about me. I don't know. But they're basically saying, look, anybody who's slating off Harley Davidson, criticising Harley Davidson, they should be ashamed of themselves. They're all maggots and everything, that kind of thing. And if you've seen the videos, you've seen, look, I actually like this channel and what the guy usually does. And I've mentioned him a couple of times on this channel. I'm not going to mention him now because I don't think it's fair to do so. But at the same time, I know that certain channels, especially in the Harley Davidson world, are very pro Harley Davidson. There's nothing really they can do wrong. There are other channels, I concede, that all they're doing is being ultra negative and saying things that are just not hateful, but it's just a big negative spin on it. They're ultra criticizing, and sometimes there's foundation in that, and other times it's totally unwarranted. And this goes for the same when I say, people who criticize any manufacturer or any dealership, and sometimes it's warranted and sometimes there's another side to the story, right? So this is where I've always seen Harley Davidson, is that, I like the brand. There are some great things that they do, but there are some terrible things to do. So I just call it as I see it. Sometimes I think that they do good stuff, other stuff I don't think is great at all. Now, I've been accused in the past of being one of these haters, Harley Davidson haters. And I take a bit, not offense to it, but I just wonder, well, what are you actually hearing that makes me a hater when I just talk, I talk about things in a balanced way, or I say, look, this is not right. They should have done this better, or this is really good. So I talk about things in a balanced way, or I'll talk about the company in a business sense. So then you're just really talking about business strategy and where things could go wrong or go right. And I talk about, in the past here, I'll talk about, look, certain market analysts have said this. Does this really mean X, Y, and Z? So does that make you a hater just because you're talking about a product or a company and you're questioning whether it's viable or not? So there are some YouTube channels, let's just say, who have a vested interest in being positive about a product. In this case, Harley Davidson, right? Because guess what? They are monetizing themselves. They have a background business that is based upon selling Harley Davidsons or selling the brand. Now, Harley Davidson as a brand, unlike any other motorcycle brand that I can think of, get more positive press or more free press than anybody else. It's mate, certainly in the Western hemisphere. I would say in somewhere like India, the Royal Enfield would get a lot of positive press. Maybe Hero, something like that, with their brands, in terms of numbers of YouTube channels, in terms of numbers of motorcycles sold, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of Western market, Harley Davidson is a big ticket for YouTubers, right? Because it's the name that most people search for, whether they like it or not. They're searching for that name. Now, there are some YouTube channels who just latch onto that, whether they've got anything to do with Harley Davidson at all, whether they own a motorcycle, whether they even ride motorcycles, right? They'll make content about something that might be topical at the time. I get it. There are other motorcycle YouTube channels, let's say, that will be ultra negative because they know that negativity and drama sells. They know that they can draw eyes, and they can draw the eyes of all those people out there who have had a negative experience with a particular product, in this case Harley Davidson, so they can get a bit of a groundswell of opinion, and also that will boost views and so on and so forth, right? So whichever way you look at it, if you're being ultra negative all the time, or if you're being ultra positive all the time, all you're doing is you're just tailoring your content to one demographic, and you're getting the support of that demographic just to boost your content. But that's not really being honest, is it? That's not really being honest with whomever is out there. So let's just say I love Harley Davidson, right? So for example, and all I'm going to say is everything they do is fantastic. It's a brilliant bike. It rides fantastic. It's just this. It's just that. Well, I've always said I would never do that. I would never be the mouthpiece of any company. I would be the only mouthpiece that I would be is my own mouthpiece. I would just give my honest opinions, and I would say quite plainly, black and white, this motorcycle, I like the look of it, I don't like the look of it, I like the way it rides, but it doesn't do well here, that kind of thing. It would always be independent. I've had offers over the years, many offers, from different dealerships, different companies, of all sorts of companies. I get it to this day. I get about 20 emails a week from different companies saying, do you want this product? Do you want to sell this? Do you want to, do this? Do you want to have a relationship here, collaboration here? And most of the time, in fact, virtually 99.9% of the time, I've always said no. And the reason is because I know what their angle is. They want me to talk about something and give a positive spin on it. And that's not the way I do things. I would just give you an honest opinion. So if somebody's only being positive about a product, right, or about a company, and especially if they're just trying to sell motorcycles off the back of it, let's just say, or sell t-shirts, or sell God knows whatever else, Harley till I die type thing, right? Then they're not giving you the whole picture. They're not, regardless of what their passion is, regardless of what they, what they think about it, they're not giving you the whole journey. They're not telling you the whole experience. Exactly the same as if somebody is just being ultra negative about something for negativity's sake, then you're not really getting the whole picture. But what I do take umbrage is that where some people out there will be condescending, or they will be negative towards other people just because they have an opinion, just because they might say something that is negative. Oh no, you can't say anything bad against the holiness that is Harley Davidson. It's almost like there's some kind of mind virus out there, either pro or against. Harley Davidson in particular, it does have a cult-like following in certain circles. So you can't say something bad about it. You can only say something good about it. Now, I've said this in the past. A lot of this is wrapped up also in national identity and a bit of patriotism, if you're American, that kind of thing, or this Americana type of ideology, that kind of thing. That was from the past. I just don't think that's as strong anymore, but people still love that brand. But I think if you're just loving that brand and you're ignoring the way the company has acted over the years and the way it's alienated so many people, then I think you're just being deluded. You're not seeing the whole picture. You're not seeing what other people are seeing. So I kind of wonder when certain YouTubers in particular, and you can read in their comments because they're getting all the support from all the people who think like them. And certain YouTubers will criticize other YouTubers for other content, whether it's negative or whether have anything negative to say about a particular company, in this case Harley Davidson. Then you kind of wonder, well, what's your angle? What are you saying this for? What is your agenda for calling out other channels just because they say something bad about your product that you love? Not even your product, the company that you love. I've said this time and time again. Harley Davidson are just a company. They're a manufacturer. If you believe that Harley Davidson as a manufacturer, as a company, have faith in you, that they love you, that they treat you with respect, that you're living in cloud cuckoo land, because they are just like any other company out there. They're just trying to produce a product which they believe is a really good product, and hopefully they can entice you as a potential customer to buy it and to keep with the brand. But in terms of loyalty to you, in terms of trying to treat you with some kind of holy union, no, that just doesn't exist. However, from motorcycle riders and a lot of fans out there, it's almost like, no, they have that relationship. And then all of a sudden, you know, if there's people with a different point of view, then all of a sudden it's just like, well, oh no, they're just haters, or they're just maggots, or they're, they're shameful for even criticizing. Well, I believe it's shameful for being ultra positive and not seeing any negativity at all. Or you might see it, but you'll never say it. And for me, that's almost as bad. In fact, that is as bad. That's just as bad as somebody being just totally negative and never seeing any positivity at all. I've said this time and time again on this channel. It's not always good and it's not always bad. There are some good things and bad things about everything in life, and certainly in the motorcycle world. And I've never claimed to be, you know, a Harley Davidson channel. I've talked about this repeatedly. I ride Harley Davidson. I've loved Harley Davidsons. You know, I've had lots of great experience of Harley Davidson, but I've had exactly the same experiences and great rides and bad rides, whatever, on so many other types of bikes as well, and makes and models and things like that, and different types of riding. So I look at it from a more of an objective point of view. But to say that just because somebody is being negative, that means that somehow that they're not entitled to that opinion, or they should just shut up and be quiet and everything. Well, who made you the gatekeeper of opinion? Who said that you are the gatekeeper of opinion, that nobody else is allowed to have any other point of view? You know, I think we got away from that kind of rhetoric. I thought we got away from that kind of opinions and dictatorships, and there's so many different labels for this, right? You say, well, nobody else is allowed to another point of view. Only yours is the right point of view. No, it doesn't work like that, and certainly not in the YouTube world. However, I do take the point. I do absolutely take the point. If people are just being negative for the sake of being negative. In other words, that every single video that they do, they are just completely just looking for another angle just to blast the company and just say everything that's wrong and this bike is crap and this strategy is rubbish and everything like that. I get it. And I would agree with you. On that point, I would agree with you. But there are many, I would say that is a limited amount of YouTube channels out there. I'd say there's I would say there's very few that have that ultra agenda just to attack Harley Davidson as a particular company, for example. I'd say for the most part, there will be people out there who will give their good points, give their bad experiences, but they'll also have their good experiences, or they'll talk about something else as well. But there, by saying that somebody is just being ultra negative all the time, there are channels out there that just ultra positive all the time. And for me, as I say, they're exactly the same. They're just the opposite side, they're the flip side of the same coin. So I just wonder when people launch into attacks or launch into criticisms of other channels or other points of view, I just wonder, are you actually looking at yourself? Do you look at the way you act sometimes? And I just wonder what is actually behind this. I've been doing YouTube for a very long time with other channels that I've had. In fact, I've got one of the oldest YouTube channels out there because I started years ago. I didn't post much on it, but I started years ago. So but it doesn't matter how many people watch my videos and how many subscribers I've got. You can either just make content for the sake of making content so that you want to get views, you want to bust that YouTube algorithm, so on and so forth, or you just make content that you want to make, regardless of if it hits, regardless if you get views, regardless if people love it or not. And I think this is the problem with a lot of motorcycle channels in particular, and a lot of, especially Harley Davidson channels, is that they went for just going for either the views, the likes, the subscriptions, or they went for the favour of the motorcycle company. And that bit them on the arse as well, because they went for, and I've talked about this in the past, regardless of if you have the best intentions in terms of working with a motorcycle company, in this case Harley Davidson, and you want to go on their private test rides and all that kind of stuff, you're kind of being shackled into what you can actually say. And guess what? There was a phase back a year or so where there was lots of this stuff. And guess what? The company moves on. They'll pick new people to get onto their bikes and showcase their bikes. I'll never forget this. Years ago, I was listening to a YouTuber, and he says he gets approached by these companies all the time. And they said, they're not interested in me. They don't care about me. All they care about is my audience. They don't care about me. So if they don't care about me, why should I be doing them this favor? Why do I need to do this favor without some kind of recompense? There's got to be some kind of exchange here. Otherwise, they're just using my audience, or they're using me to get to my audience. And I'm not sure I want them. This is not Harley Davidson I'm talking about. This is just something else they were talking about. So I'm not sure I want them to have access to my audience if it's not a good message. So maybe some YouTubers have kind of understood this over the last few years to say, well, actually, you know what? Just because it's Harley Davidson, just because I ride Harley, I'm making Harley Davidson content. It's not a great way to go forward. It's not a great way just to be so inextricably linked to a company and not have that independent thought. Now, some have kind of pulled away from that and actually started to be a lot more independent in the way they think. I've always tried to be that. I've always tried to say, no, I actually don't want any association with you. Thank you very much. I'd rather just be independent. And I've praised them when I wanted to be praised, and I've criticised when they needed to be criticised. Or my opinion is that they need to be criticised, right? This is the thing, because it's all about opinions, really. But I do believe that it's the pot calling the kettle black, really. When you're just calling out other YouTube channels or people with other opinions just because it's negative, or just because it's not as positive as what yours is. I just don't agree with it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I think, if you're an owner of a Harley Davidson or a Honda or a BMW or whatever, right? I read the forums. I look at forums of all different manufacturers. Guess what? There's lots of positivity and there's lots of negativity on those. Every manufacturer has it. I've repeatedly said this on this channel. Harley Davidson is not the same. Is not alone. There are many other manufacturers have exactly the same issue. There's positivity and there's negativity. There's positive customer experiences and negative customer experiences. You get good bikes, you get bad bikes. You get a good batch, you get a bad batch. It's just the way of the world. It's automotive wilderness out there, as it were. It happens. They're machines. It's electronics. It's electrics. It happens all the time. You're going to get good after-sales service and bad after-sales service. One dealership is going to be better or worse than another one. That's just the way it is. You can't just say, oh yeah, everything's great. And also, let's not ignore the elephant in the room in terms of price. Now, of course, I repeatedly say Harley Davidson are they're not the only expensive brand out there. There are many other motorcycle manufacturers who have expensive motorcycles, but there are other motorcycle manufacturers who have a lot cheaper motorcycles as well. And I've been calling out for Harley Davidson to say, look, you need to compete at that level. You need to also bring out cheaper motorcycles to bring people into the brand. That's not being negative. That's just saying you need to move with the times as well. Not stop selling your big expensive motorcycles, but you need another dynamic. You need another edge to your game. So they needed to change. But if you're just a channel and you're saying how great this company is, how great these motorcycles are, and it's great that they're $30,000 machines, or you're kind of gonna gloss over that it's a $25,000, $30,000 shekel machine. Well, what about all those people out there who there's no way on earth they're ever going to be able to buy those motorcycles? They're just too expensive. So what about you as a YouTuber, as a whatever it is? Just say, well, actually, listen, as I do, those are really too expensive. You're never going to be able to afford those. But actually, just go to the used bike market. If you're a Harley Davidson fan like I am, just look at the used bikes. They're fantastic. But that doesn't do anything for the company. That doesn't do anything for a dealership. Perhaps it does, it doesn't, in terms of new motorcycles. But it gets you to buy your Harley Davidson at a much reduced price. You don't hear people talking about that. What they do, they say, hey, look, there's a brand new motorcycle. Look, I'm going to test ride this brand new motorcycle. Hey, and it only costs this and finances that. It's great. And, you know, oh, I'm going to buy all this new product for my bike, or I'm going to put this on. And look, I've got 10 bikes here and they're fantastic. And I'm doing this and doing that. Because there's always an angle. There's always something that you as a viewer, you don't see. I see it, but you may not see it. You may not see the pounds and pennies, the dollars and cents, what is going on behind the scenes here. Just, you know, I say there's lots of channels out there who will paint a picture for you, and I get it. I get it. It's very easy to paint a picture. It's very easy to give a positive spin or a negative spin on something. Whether I'm writing an article, making a video, doing a podcast, it's very easy. Actually, what takes work is to have a balanced view where you pick out the positives and the negatives and you see both sides of the argument, and you just keep to your lane, you just keep to that center road, and you'll see what are they doing good, what they're not doing good. Just be aware of those who are trying to push something onto you that's either always positive or always negative. And usually the ones that are always positive, guess what? They're the ones that are earning money from it as well. Don't just think that the ones who are pushing negativity or they're the only ones that are earning money. No, the ones that are pushing positivity, they're earning a lot of money as well. If you like what I do here, keep on watching, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.